Hi, I'm the Gadget Guru, Andy Parr, and you're watching thevog.net. No, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. We're at a Victory dealership. I'm here with Mark, MJW930, and this is a BMW, and I have to read the name of it here, K1600 GTL, a BMW on a Vogue website. What's going on here, Mark?
Well, it's not about what you ride, it's about making friends when you ride, right?
Oh, look, we're right up there on the website.
Yeah.
It says it right above it.
It's a motorcycle. I've always I don't really have a lot of brand loyalty. I tend to buy bikes that speak to me, and this one did. So,
Mark, I have to ask you. You seem like you were pretty happy with your cross country. What just made you all of a sudden decide to get a BMW 1600?
Mostly just time for a change. Kind of a lot like Don. I actually kept the cross country for 2.5 years, and that is usually twice as long as I keep a bike or a car or something like that. I lose interest. I didn't need another bike, but I just happened to be by a dealer, stopped in, sat on it again, realized it really fit me, and then we started talking price, and I realized I could afford it now. They weren't trying to get $9,000 markups on them anymore. And being that it's springtime, I figured I could probably move my bike pretty quick, so it just seemed like the right time to do it.
Now, I'm not that familiar with this model. I remember when it was launched, I remember BMW saying that they were making wholesale changes and doing all sorts of technology and ergonomic changes to this bike. But what surprised me, we're out in the parking lot, and this is a stock bike.
Yep.
I got on it, and I was almost flat-footed, and I'm wearing tennis shoes. With boots, I could be flat-footed on this. I didn't know that BMW had done that. I thought that, they were still designed for tall people. You're 5'8". How do you feel on this bike?
Well, 5'9", but we'll go back.
I'm sorry, 5'8". It's an old inside joke.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I'm pretty comfortable on it. That's one of the things that drew me to it. I've ridden an LT. I'd rented one about 5 years ago for a long week. I've owned a Goldwing. I enjoyed both of those bikes when they were in motion. I hated them at slow speed, and I hated them around the parking lot because I couldn't flat foot either one of them. And you can get into these arguments, well, you don't really need to flat foot if you know how to ride and all that kind of garbage. What I want is to be able to feel stable when I'm stopped with both feet on the ground, especially if my wife's on the back and I'm loaded up with luggage. When I sat on this the first time, picked it up and was flat footed, my wife was standing next to me. She just walked away shaking her head and says, "Oh, we're in trouble now."
Call the bank.
Pretty much, yeah. But the riding position, the fact that, you see it's got a very deep dish. There's really almost no need for a backrest on this bike.
Yeah, I noticed that when I sat down there, it came up to, well, for me, mid-back. But with that deep dish, how does it feel having your passenger elevated a full head above you?
It's different. The bike will tend to feel like it's getting a little top heavy. My wife, who's only 5 foot tall, this is the only bike we've owned for the last 10 years where if she's on the back, she can actually see over me, which is disconcerting a little bit for her. But then again, she has her own bike, so she doesn't ride on the back very often anyway. Okay,
well, with that height difference, and as we know, this does have the electric windscreen. How does this protect both you and the passenger? Because I think if you get it at a level where you want it and see over, right, is it still going to deflect air over the top of your passenger?
No, it won't. If I have it down to where I can look over the shield, then they're pretty much getting a face blast of air. And actually, it's a little dirty because it's coming around my head to get to them. If I bring this up high enough to where I'm looking through it, all that pretty much does is raise the wind up so it's hitting them kind of like this. So this shield has 5 inches of vertical travel. So you can, once you get up to where you're looking through it, going up another couple inches really means nothing to the driver, but it can mean everything to the passenger. So I think that's why they gave it that extra amount of lift. And also when it goes up, and I can actually...
Yeah, let's do a little demonstration.
Yeah. I just want to make sure the radio's not on, which it is.
I gotta tell you, you should see the controls on this bike. You definitely have to read the manual on this.
I read the manual on this, and I never read the manual on anything. So, but that's in its lowest position, and as it goes up, it actually goes vertical. So at its highest position there,
It's all the way up.
It's all the way up, and even if a person is sitting at this angle, the wind is being thrown pretty much over them. And my wife said the one time that she's been on the bike that she gets wind, and that's fine, we're not in the car, but it's fairly clean. She's not getting bounced around, her head's not getting bobbled around, so she said it was very comfortable.
Well, I think it's a gorgeous bike. Why don't you tell us about some of the other features? I know I'm looking up here. This does not look like a motorcycle dash to me. It looks like a BMW car. I mean, it's very easy to read, and it's very simple to look at.
It is. Anybody that knows BMW knows the lashing they've taken over the last decade with their iDrive. This has a motorcycle variant of the iDrive, but and actually it's affectionately called.
Have they finally gotten it right?
They've gotten it right, yeah, because you don't have to go hunting for the different things. It's actually this wheel right here that you go up and down, like you hear the volume coming up on the radio. It toggles in or out. Right now I'm tuning the radio. If I were on a different menu, it would be doing something different, adjusting the suspension, doing whatever. But there's only about 5 menus, and they all work the same, in and out or around. So it's pretty easy to understand once you've spent some time reading the manual and riding a little bit. I was given a warning by the dealer when I bought it. He said that during the demo, during the announcement when they were up in the mountains, one of the dealers drove the bike literally off the side of a cliff because in the middle of a turn he was trying to change the radio station with the button. So I said, okay, that's enough of a wake-up call. I pretty much had it set, and I resisted the temptation on the ride home to play with it until I got home and understood it.
You know, that's good advice to anybody getting a new bike. Because, you know, with all the bells and whistles on bikes today, you know, when you're leaving a dealer with the bike, wait to play with all the stuff till you get home, get in your driveway, get the instruction manual. Because, you know, it can be distracting. And motorcycles are not what they used to be.
No, there's really no reason to do anything but turn it on and ride initially. Everything else is just fine-tuning or tweaks, and like you say, you get it to where it's second nature, you don't have to think about it.
Now, you were talking about a lot of different rider controls or shock controls. What sort of settings do you have on them?
This has preload settings, so you can set it for electronic preload for one rider, 2 riders, 1 rider with luggage. Actually, the 2 riders actually includes luggage, so that's their maximum setting. That's all done with servos, like normally on bikes with preload canisters, you would crank up a knob. Well, they do that with a servo inside. So it'll rise, pretty much rise. It's not so much like the Goldwing that actually has an air pump or a hydraulic pump.
A true servo.
This is a true servo that adjusts the preload on the spring. The springs are electronically controlled. So there's 3 settings. There's comfort, normal, and sport. And then there's traction control.
Yeah, now that's interesting on this bike. Tell me about that.
Traction control on a motorcycle, I never even thought about that. That's just kind of strange. It's almost, I mean, if people don't like ABS, I can imagine how vehemently opposed they are to traction control on a motorcycle.
How do the settings work on this traction control?
That's the thing about the settings. There's 3 settings for traction control. There's a road setting, which is your normal. Yeah, it does have some anti-slip. It will kind of catch the bike if you get a little out of shape, but you'll never notice it. It's like a normal bike. The reaction, it's an electric throttle, so the reaction on that is pretty much normal to a cable. There's a rain setting, which I haven't ridden in the rain yet, but people that I've talked to that own it and read about online have said it's wonderful because it reduces the torque. It kind of numbs down the throttle, so if you inadvertently jerk it too hard, you're not going to break the back end loose. And it kind of dials up the traction control, so if a wheel starts to slip, it'll do what it can to catch it. And then they have dynamic mode. And dynamic mode, combined with sport preload, turns a highway cruiser into a canyon carver. Yeah. Everything's dialed up a notch. That's about the best way to describe it. Throttle inputs are, maybe accentuate is not the right word, but things happen right now. The ABS is changed slightly so that it comes in later. The bike will drift if you're that type of rider. It pretty much lets you ride this bike as hard as you want to ride it, and it'll only kick in if you're about ready to kill yourself. And even then, if you want to turn everything off, you can turn everything off on the bike and get rid of all of that.
Now, you're coming off a bike with floorboards, and you're going to a bike with pegs. How does that feel to you?
About as strange as it felt going from a bike with pegs to a bike with floorboards. For the first 100 miles, I kept trying to find a place to put my feet. after I got past that, it really kind of becomes second nature. You actually remember, because not all of it, most of us probably rode their bikes, you know, when you started riding, we're not riding with a bike with floorboards, you rode with pegs. So you learn, you know, you put your feet up on the ball, you know, on the ball of the peg, or slide it back down. So you've got some motion on the peg, and you kind of rediscover that after a couple hundred miles on the bike.
So how long is it going to take you to put highway pegs on here?
They're back ordered right now, or they'd be on it already.
So, okay, so you don't have floorboards anymore, but you can mimic, you know, having multiple foot positions by just adding that on. It seems that everything comes on this bike. Now, you have keyless ignition, or what other sorts of...
It's not keyless ignition, but it does have central locking, so all the compartments, the top case, which is in the garage right now, that this comes with, will lock with the remote control.
So you press a button, everything's locked.
Yeah, it's, you probably can hear it. The bike just locked. You press it twice after it locks. Oh, it's not going to go on. I got it.
Yeah,
The ignition's turned on.
It's smarter than we are.
It's smarter than we are, but that unlocks everything.
And that's everything. That's your gas cap, your side bags.
Side compartments, and the top case if it was on.
Okay, so that's great. You just keep the key in your pocket and boom.
Yeah, and you click it twice, and it sets the alarm.
And sounds just like a BMW car. I think that's the same buzzer they use there.
There's a lot of parts to carry over, I'm sure, yeah.
Okay, show us how easy it is to take the quick release. The quick release. Now,
If I had the top case, that would be the best place to start, because it literally comes off in 15 seconds. Okay. It just locks in, drops down, you turn a knob on the inside, and it grabs, and that's it. You bring a cable around and plug it in, and everything's...
No wrenches, just...
No.
So the hardest part is plugging in the cable?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Why don't we go around this side?
I'm not as agile as Don.
Okay. Here, let me get over here. I'll get on this side of you. Let's come on in. Let's take a look over here.
So basically, it's just a matter of releasing the lever.
Oh, well, 15 seconds. That took half the time your top case would take. I mean, that's like nothing. Here, come on in.
Yeah, nothing, and it's set up. Obviously, you can ride it without the top cases. There's nothing going to get in the way. It's a shaft drive as well. So,
Mark, I have to tell you, this is one gorgeous piece of engineering. I mean, it's a beautiful bike. I learned a lot today. It sits a lot lower. All the electronic features, everything is incorporated so well. We did forget one feature I wanted to ask you about: the GPS. Now that, when I saw this, was one of my favorite features of the bike. Can you tell me how that works?
It's real simple. It's a regular Garmin 660, but it's integrated into the front cowl. So you push a button on the side, the windshield goes up, a little pod pops up, and you take the GPS out, drop the pod back in, put a cover plate on, and you're done. Now, when the GPS is in and you turn the bike off, the windshield lowers, which blocks access to the GPS, so you can't get it stolen.
Well, you know, when I saw this, I thought initially, I didn't know if it was an information screen or a GPS screen, but I was thinking maybe it was like the Goldwing, where the GPS was incorporated and built into the dash. Then when you gave me the demo and I saw that it's basically a Garmin GPS, I believe a Garmin Zumo, you can just pull it out, take it in your pocket, or when the shield comes down, it blocks it from being stolen. I said, you know, that is the blueprint for how all bike manufacturers need to be doing it from here on out.
It really is, because now you've got kind of the de facto motorcycle GPS, and if you own more than one bike, you've got one unit you can move around. Plus, for $50, you buy a car kit, slap it on your windshield, and you've got a car GPS.
It keeps you from, instead of having all these ramball mounts and things that every time you stop for gas and you go in the bathroom, do I take it off? Is it going to be there when I get back? You really don't have those problems with it.
You don't, and then the other advantage to this unit is that the audio is wired in, and you get that with the other ones, like on the Victory and all. Routing information comes through the stereo, comes through the intercom. You have some controls, so you can change screen, zoom in, zoom out from the wheel on the side, so you don't have to reach forward and do anything. But basically, it's a BMW badged Garmin.
I tell you, it is one gorgeous bike, and again, the feats of engineering that they put off in this, hopefully we'll see them go into other brands and trickling down to other models in the future. Mark, I do want to thank you for your time, and again, ride safely. For the Vog.net, I'm the Gadget Guru, Andy Parr, and I'll see you on the road and online.